Some motherboards do not align with anything else on the market, and the Apex is that motherboard. An experimental board meant to hunt and search for the last mechanical limit of your CPU, dressed up in a polite pro gamer package. Today, we are reviewing the very ambivalent ROG Maximus XII Apex, an unapologetic work in progress, a tease of a board begging you to bring it to the brink of explosion for it to pull out at the very last second. Ugh, it is hot in here. The Apex is the Far West metaphor of a motherboard. All the safety nets have been removed and you really need to know what you're doing before starting to explore what that thing can do. It's a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of a thing with two distinct personalities, literally, because we do have a dual BIOS feature on this thing. You can go easy peasy, run your i7, or go completely bananas and go after nitrogen-cooled world record breaking rig or whatever you call that thing. That's a wide spectrum ASUS is trying to put together, trying to reconcile. And this particular Apex, the Maximus XII series, is inherently different than anything that came before it. And unsurprisingly, I really struggle to find what board it's going against on the market because there's not really anything such as an Apex. But I do feel confident that, you know, the excellent ASUS Z490 Ultra or the fearless MSI Meg Z490 Unify will give it a solid run for its money. Starting with the obvious, we are dealing with a 6-layered ATX motherboard, which is 2 more than its predecessor, the Maximus XI Apex, which I have reviewed and you should check if you haven't done so. And having more PCB layers makes absolute sense when you're talking about a PCIe 4.0 enabled motherboard, because having more bandwidth means more signal interfering, and having more layers protects that other components interfering with each other, just give that extra isolation and give that very stable and durable quality to your board. In addition, it also gives us a little bit more of heat propagation quality at the VRM level. So definitely a solid foundation for a performant and durable board such as the Apex. I do regret that we don't have more layers because this thing potentially can be used for nitrogen cooling. So having 2 more layers, having a total of 8 PCB layers is not an obligation, but would have made more sense to me. And since we're on the PCB, I just wanted to note the overall aesthetic of that board. ASUS calls it the X design. ASUS really went out of the way to underline that X, and it's not necessarily going to be obvious to all, but I do like these long lines which cut through the different metal element of the board. And in terms of custom paint job, I can definitely see real cool stuff being done with it. CPU socket wise, we do have the brand new LGA 1200 CPU socket, which is 49 pin more than its predecessor, the LGA 1151, meaning that unfortunately this motherboard will not be able to support anything else but the 10th and 11th generation of Intel Core processor. In other words, it is not backward compatible, which is something I strongly regret, because there is no good reason for a Z390 powered motherboard not to run a 10th generation processor and vice versa. A Z490 motherboard not to run a 9th generation processor. I feel it's purely, completely a marketing move, and I really regret that coming from Intel. Note that in order to unlock the PCIe 4.0 abilities of this board, you will need to couple it with an 11th generation of Intel Core processor, something which is at the time of this video not yet available and won't be for another year at least. VRM wise, as we've seen with other Z490 motherboard, the Apex VRM went through a substantial upgrade when compared with its predecessor. We are dealing with 1670 amps power stages, 14 of which are CPU centric. 70 amps. These are the most powerful power stages available in the industry, period. They are paired into a 7 phases configuration, delivering a core melting 980 amps to our CPU. And obviously this is beyond overkill and ridiculous. There's nothing that this motherboard cannot overclock, and that does not only ensure the most stable overclocking experience you can ever hope for, but it also strongly hints at a 16-core 11th generation of Intel Core processor coming next year. Now, how does it go cooling wise? Well, not bad at all, considering that first we do have a 6-layered PCB, which will provide us a little bit more of heat dissipation, as I said earlier. But most importantly, ASUS has done a very good choice with this massive 3-staged heatsink with an imposing, all-englobing, unprecedented central heat block. Not long ago I had reviewed the MSI X570 Unify, which had something very similar, and I really thought that MSI had done a groundbreaking move with this, and I'm so happy to see it coming from ASUS, and I think this is the first time I see it coming from ASUS, and something I really hope will be bleeding all over the industry, because I cannot say how glad I am to see manufacturers who finally sacrifice all this plasticky kind of stuff to the benefit of a more engineered, focused solution for better performance and durability. And these two things really converge to deliver a real cool VRM in any kind of overclocking configuration or overclocking posture. And I mean, take away the crazy stuff with nitrogen and all that stuff. We are looking at something that was not only performant, but extremely durable as well. Memory-wise, the Apex can support up to 64 GB of DDR4 RAM in a dual extended channel configuration, overclockable up to a whopping 4.8 GHz, which is not that whooping, because its predecessor, the Apex, the Maximus XI Apex, did the exact same job. Could overclock up to 4.8 GHz as well, which, by the way, is crazy insane. And extreme, one of the fastest clock you can hope out of DDR4 RAMs, but I would have liked to see Apex going all the way to 5 GHz. The only plus side here is that now ASUS is using its new daisy chain topology that they call Optimum 3, which should give us a better OC stability, and more often than not hit these really high numbers such as 4.8 GHz. Staying in the memory, we have 3 M.2 solid-state drive, 2 on a rather premium and thermoplated DIMM.2 plate, and a third one on the motherboard itself. They can all transfer up to 32 gigabit per second, nothing new here, but keep in mind that when this board is coupled with 11th generation of core processor, it becomes PCIe 4.0 compliant, doubling the available bandwidth, and hence we can hope to see M.2 solid-state drive swap data up to a whooping 64 gigabit per second. In all cases, these sticks can get really hot, and that is exactly why each of them have been equipped with rather thick and heavy thermopadded heat shields, which should be plenty to keep them cool and composed even in the worst argument with their partners. I need a heat shield. Chipset-wise, our board is powered by a 6-watt Z490 chipset, which is absolutely identical to its predecessor, the Z390. Identical in everything. The only difference might be the wireless module, which we see an upgrade from AC to the AX standard. But other than that, they are the very same chipset with different name. Another reason why I am a little bit disappointed by Intel, because again, the 10th generation of Intel processor could have been run on the Z390 chipset, and it would have saved us the upgrade cost for a full year. Export-wise, we have 4 PCIe export, 1 bachelor, 1 4 slots, and 2 16 slots with different speeds. Noticeably less than usually available on Apex motherboard, and it's not such a bad thing. I actually think that in this case less is more, because the third PCIe Express on a Z-powered motherboard usually have way less bus bandwidth available to it, and it makes this Apex Maximus XII an even more performance-centric motherboard, which I really like. Note that only the closest one to your CPU can deliver up to 16 full bus speed, meaning this is where you'd want your video card to be placed for optimal performances. In a dual GPU configuration, our slots will be sharing bandwidth in an 8x8 configuration. So basically a great board for single or even dual GPU configuration, hence the metallic reinforcements on them. Storage-wise, we do have our usual 8 SATA plugs, which can all transfer up to an almost caricatural slow 6 gigabit per second. I mean, we can cure Englishism, meaning taking an Englishman, you give him a French passport, he's cured from it. But we cannot go away from the SATA 3.0 standard. We did not figure an upgrade to this. Go figure. And let me note the presence of an Apex speciality, a plate add-on which will reflect our PCB's RGB and somewhat try to redirect our SATA cabling. I mean, it's... Look, I love Apex, I really do, but this little plate is as useful as a Frenchman in a military uniform. It's just absolutely nonsense. Back IO wise, first let me note the presence of a padded IO plate, which was expected, but still very happy to see. And starting from the left, we have our CMOS BIOS button, meaning we can update and recover our BIOS without a CPU, which makes a lot of sense and really is important here since we are going to deal with 2 generations, or maybe even more, but at least 2 generations of processor on this board, and meaning that if you want to upgrade to the 11th generation of Intel processor, you will need most probably a BIOS update. So here, easy peasy, everything is taken care for you. We have 2 PS2 plugs in case that everything else fails, which is, you know, a possibility in extreme overclocking situations. 5 3.25 gigabit USB plugs, 5 3.2 second generation USB plugs, including a Type-C, which is a combined bandwidth of 75 gigabit per second just on the USB plugs. A 2.5 gigabit LAN, which is the same upgrade we will see on all Z490 motherboard, going away from the single gigabit LAN that we had ever since the Z170 and maybe even before powered motherboards. A Wi-Fi AX201 with transfer rates up to 2.4 gigabit per second and not 1.73 as it is written on the ASUS APEX Maximus XII website. That's a mistake they wrote because this is a substantial upgrade coming from the previous generation of 802.11 AC, and very happy to see finally Intel catching up on AMD, who's been using that standard for at least 16 months by now. A rather premium S1220 Realtek audio codec, which fully benefits from the 6 PCB layers of this board because their left and right audio channel tracing are on dedicated and isolated PCB to avoid any kind of static interferences, which is extremely important, not so much into when you're playing a video game, when you're playing sound, but much more when you're recording it, especially in non-grounded house or apartment. So very happy to see this, and a big kudos to ASUS for this. I have 2 remarks regarding the back IO here. Happy and not sad not to see any integrated display output. This is definitely not the board you'd be using on an integrated graphic model or chip or whatever you want to call it. And you don't even need a screen to fully recover your BIOS with an Apex motherboard, so absolutely good riddance, less is more. Front panel connector wise, we have 3 second generation plugs, great to monitor your power supply unit in and out wattage, and power or monitor your all-in-one water cooler. 1 5 gigabit front panel connector and a 10 gigabit Type-C front panel connector. Always happy to find one whenever I can get one. Let's not forget the presence of a Thunderbolt 3.0 connector, which will provide multiple monitor support and up to 40 gigabit per second transfer rate. Also very happy to see one. Basics are covered, and I like the fact that ASUS went for a 3rd second generation plug because it'll give us more agility and monitor options. Cooling wise, well, as expected, we do have a lot of stuff. Flow sensors, thermal sensors, leakage sensors, but most noticeably, we do have 7 PWM fan connectors, 2 of which can be used for water pumps, which is what you'd expect anyways for such an enthusiastically driven motherboard. But I do have a real critic here. I am really sad not to see hybrid connectors as usual on ASUS motherboard, something that I've seen on ours Gigabyte motherboards, and which really simplify everything for everyone because every connector can support anything you throw at it, either a fan or a water pump or a flow sensor. So it really brings that agility that enthusiast board, especially the Apex, should really have by default. So something ASUS should really keep in mind for, well, Maximus 14 troubleshooting wise. Here ASUS really went the extra mile. It really added a bunch of switches and tweaks which will allow you to take control to the most minute feature or aspect of power delivery, and that's really what the Apex was all about. We have really useful stuff like the usual start and reset soldered button, a dual BIOS button, a LED indicator to let us know which BIOS is currently active. Really cannot get any better than this. And in case of boot failure, we both have an extended easy debugger, a QLED screen for precise troubleshooting, and even voltage reading points to allow direct CPU reading voltage. Like I said, there is usually very little to separate an Apex board to a testing board, but here ASUS really went above and beyond, and I absolutely love it. Finally, this would not be a ROG motherboard without an indecent amount of RGB yumminess. Starting with an RGB strip hidden under our all metallic IO roof, one under our chipset heat shield, and one nested in our PCB, underlying that X look we mentioned earlier, and that ASUS is so harshly and hardly trying to emphasize. And if you ever needed more, well, worry not. We also have 4 more RGB connectors, 2 of which are addressable. In short, if your streaming career never really took off, you can use your Apex motherboard and open a tanning salon with it. In conclusion, the ROG Maximus XII Apex will run you about $400 before taxes, and surprisingly that's exactly the same price of its previous version, if I remember well, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but that really makes it surprisingly a good value. Obviously, if you already have a Z390 motherboard running a 9th generation motherboard, I'll tell you to wait, right? I'll tell you to wait until the 11th generation of Intel processor will make this board PCIe 4.0 compliant, and there you'll have so much more incentive to upgrade motherboard and processor. But put this aside, this Apex version is definitely benefiting from a lot of upgrade, much more upgrade that we've seen from, say, the Z270 to the Z370 or to the Z370 to Z390. This is a different animal altogether. It has the best VRM money can buy, an amazing VRM cooling solution, and an infinite combination of adjustments that you can impose onto it. And obviously it's PCIe 4.0 compliant, which makes it future-proofing for at least 4 or 5 years. I mean, obviously it's not for everyone. If you are looking for a comfortable gaming experience, then you can have whatever the Apex can give you on a Strix. You won't be able to refine or to adjust a few things or to do crazy stuff with it, but it'll give you the stock gaming performances that the Apex will. Now, put this aside. If you're a bit like me and you want a board which you could grow into as an enthusiast, it's going to give you more possibilities that you ever thought was possible. You're gonna go on crazy overclockings, and you're gonna upgrade from i7 to i9. You want to know what the 10th generation limits are, what even the 11th generation limits are, and maybe some of you will even do nitrogen overclocking and break some world record. If you're this kind of guy who really don't know what your limits are and are really all about finding out, well, there's nothing else on the market. And frankly talking, there's nowhere else your money wants and needs to be. Nowhere else.